の鼓動が消えかかるそれがオレンジャー熱い血流れる鋼のマシン
Welcome to the Super Sentai Brothers. This is episode 11 for Your Eyes Ohranger, the internet's best and only podcast dedicated to Chouriki Sentai Ohranger. Every week we watch an episode of the show, we share our thoughts with you, the listeners. My name is Matt J. With me, as always, is my co-host and brother Dave. Dave, how you doing today, bud?
I'm pretty well. You know, it's very generous of you to actually still say always after the string of episodes that we have had.
It's written down in the script, and I did not want to edit what we were saying. But yeah.
No, man, back in the saddle.
Welcome
back on the mic. Yeah, thank you. And it feels so good.
You know what else is going to feel good is that, Dave, today we are watching episode 11 of Ohranger. It is called Submission, the Refrigerator of Love. But before we get to that, Dave, I don't know if you remember this, but we have our officially award-winning opening segment, Dave, Shining in the Heavens. There are 5 stars. Are you?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's pretty ingrained at this point. I feel like, you know, what is it? It's like 21 days to make a habit and 21 days to break it. But even so, I feel like I'm still, I think I'm good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well,
cool.
I mean, in that case, are you curious as to the identity of our first star of the week?
I burn, Matt. I burn, I pine, I perish. Sorry, we're reading Taming of the Shrew. Sorry. We're reading Taming of the Shrew, and I had a bunch of kids absent one day, and so I was like, you know what would be fun? We'll watch 10 Things I Hate About You.
Oh, yeah. Great movie. With a weird, like, completely baseless understanding of paintball.
Have you seen that movie anytime in the last, since it came out, like in the last 20 years?
I have not seen it maybe in the last 10 years, but I did see it some time ago.
It is it's like a perfect crystalline gem preserved in time. It is the mosquito trapped in amber of the late 90s from which you could recreate the entire decade, I think, if you really needed to.
Oh, dude, I just had that same experience. I rewatched Clerks.
Oh, yeah. No, yes, in like a very different way.
I feel like Clerks and 10 Things I Hate About You are like the yin and yang of 90s movies.
Oh, man. Like, people said, unironically, we're calling things heinous.
Sure.
It was, oh, man. It
why
was
did
so
we ever
good.
stop saying that things were heinous?
I don't know, man. It was too beautiful to live. Anyway, sorry. What is our first star of the week?
First star of the week, Dave, is that I literally just got back to my apartment after being in the car pretty much all day. Because over this weekend, our sister and I went to go visit our cousin and his wife in Philadelphia.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was really good. I have not been to Philadelphia since I was a lot younger. And
I was going to say decades, literally.
Yeah, so, and like, I don't really remember being in Philadelphia or like seeing any of the Philadelphia stuff. And so, as it happens, it was like, and we are recording this in January in case you are listening to this like far on at a later date. But it was like 54, 55 degrees and sunny all of yesterday in Philadelphia.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that nice in Cleveland, but it was really nice.
So we took a 4.5 hour walking tour, guided walking tour of Philadelphia.
That's a lot. That's long. So you've got to see what you saw, like the Liberty Bell and like, is it Constitution Hall? Like, I don't know what it's called.
Independence Hall.
Independence Hall, thank you.
We did kind of see that. What we realized very early on in this tour is that the guy giving the tour is only kind of interested in that aspect of Philadelphia's history.
Oh, wait, sorry. Back that train up. I assumed that, like, you all just went and Mike showed you, Mike, because as our cousin, and Mike showed you around because he lived there. No, you took an actual literal walking tour with a tour guide.
Yeah. Like, Mike was there. It was like Mike and Katie, our sister, and me, and, I don't know, 7 other people just following this dude around Philadelphia.
Oh, amazing.
And he's probably about our age.
Okay.
And he's just one of those dudes who spends a lot of time like reading up on like the minutia and like kind of like dark sordid bits of local history.
Well, see, this is a really interesting thing about tour guides. It's like, I don't think there's like a licensing body for that stuff.
No, this guy's like a sketch comedian who like makes money in his off time bringing people around and saying like, hey, here's an old firehouse in what is kind of a weird neighborhood of Philadelphia that used to be very rough. And let me tell you the story about how Philadelphia volunteer fire departments in like the 1800s used to basically be street gangs.
Oh, yeah. That was a really big thing. Like Gangs of New York, that whole, like Bill the Butcher, et cetera, like it was based on a real dude and they were all firemen. Like that was a big, I don't know why firemen, maybe because, I don't know, they just dug fire. Who knows? So wait, was this like a Craigslist ad? Did you just...
No,
was
it's
this like busking? You just kind of rolled around until you found a dude?
Found a guy who seemed interesting? No, he does it through an organization.
Oh, okay.
Called like Tours on Foot or something. But yeah, it just happened to be this crazy long tour where he was like, hey, here is the hospital. It was founded on this date. And let me tell you all about the anatomy riots. And stuff like that. So
that seems like a great job.
It was really fascinating stuff. Yeah, Philadelphia was great. We did later then go like look at the the Liberty Bell and Independence Hall and just wander around town and like we went into a shop called like Strange Things and Oddities that's just full of like taxidermy and like I'm trying to think. Because there's two sorts of places where you can buy taxidermy, right? There's like...
Right, well, there's a taxidermist.
There's a taxidermist, and then there's a place that has oddities right in the title. Where it's got
I'm
like...
good.
Like,
I'm good.
It was actually really cool. It had like reassembled like squirrel skeletons under bell jars, that sort of thing. It was that sort of place.
Yeah, no, I think I'm still good. Actually, okay, a squirrel skeleton does sound pretty
I know.
neat.
I got like... We had to leave it when we did because if we had stayed there any longer, I was 100% going to buy an alligator head, and I do not need that in my life.
Yeah, no, you definitely don't need that. Where would you even put an alligator head? Like, I've been to your place. That doesn't seem like you have an apropos spot.
I'm trying to rearrange some stuff. I could actually use a handful of curios. But anyway, yeah, so that is our first star of the week. I just got back from Philly, and it was a very good time. Dave, what is our second star of the week? How you been, dude?
So, man... I've been good. So our second star of the week is just like, I don't know. We'll just call it Dave Date. That's like a portmanteau of Dave and Update.
It also just sounds like someone is going on a date with you, Dave.
Yeah. So this is like a mini audio date with me in a totally platonic way because I'm married.
Sure.
No, man. I've just had like. So I just wanted to make like. I don't know, like a confession / apology. We really try to not miss episodes. I feel really bad. I think they're finally feeling better. I'm finally feeling better. Beth is finally feeling better. But between the four of us, we have just existed in like a rolling state of like plague for, this is not a joke, 2 months.
Yeah, like I have seen you a few times.
On.
I've seen you a few times in that time period. And, like, there have been bits where, like, one or more of you have been okay, but never where all of you have been great.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I've used more sick time up through this part of the school year than I normally use in an entire year. Wednesday, I actually woke up fine, and this is why we didn't have an episode for last week. We were going to do it late. I woke up Wednesday. I was totally fine. Made it through first period. I was like, I don't feel great. And by fourth period, I had to have the security guard come in. Like, we just have security guards. Come in and be like, hey, can you watch my class for a second while I think I'm going to go puke in the teacher's lounge? Which I did.
Nice.
And then by the time I got back, I apparently looked so bad that she had already called the secretary who handles these things and been like, yeah, he's not going to make it through the rest of this day. Like, you need to set up a substitute. And she did. And then I went home, I got ginger ale on the way home, and then just went home and collapsed into bed and died. for like 10 hours, just like feverish, vaguely delirious and puking. Mm-hmm. And then by like 9:30 that night, I was like 85% better. And then by the next morning, I was cool again. It was very strange. And then like the previous Saturday, my cat died, like kind of like literally out of nowhere. My cat's name was Schrodinger. And I know like everybody who has a cat says that they have the best cat, but I had he was a really great cat.
He was an excellent cat.
Yeah, he was like a giant, he was like a 20-pound Maine Coon, and he was just super chill, and he always had he was a cat of enormous dignity, I think I would say. And he, like, the way his face was structured, it always looked as though his eyes were like slightly half closed and he was giving you a look. But he was super friendly and he was super chill. And he just went, it was the craziest thing, man. He was totally cool. And I was in the other room and then I hear him like meowing really loudly. And I go in and I'm like, he doesn't look good. And so I called Beth. I'm like, I'm going to take him to the emergency vet. Like, he seems to be in distress. Like, something is happening. And we put him in his carrier and I got him out to the car. And by the time I got the car cleared of like snow and everything, like that was it.
Oh yeah.
Like,
because there had been like an ice storm that day.
Yeah. No joke. Like 15 minutes. Fine to dead. And like I was wrecked, man. I'm actually still I'm being very glib because like we're on a show and I'm like mostly cool now. But it's super lame. Like he was a great cat. But you know, man, I don't know. He lived a great life. So
yeah. So
see you on the other side, Schrodinger. But the babies are doing super well.
Nice.
They're running around. So
yeah, we are sorry that the show has been sort of interrupted these last couple of weeks, but now that is sort of the update as to why, and hopefully we will be able to get back in the swing of things moving forward from here.
Yeah. So that's it. So what, Matt, is our third star of the week?
Third star of the week, Dave, is all my stars this week are just things I did this weekend. Because as I said, just got out of the car, so that's all I'm thinking about right now. We went out to dinner at this Moroccan place called Marrakesh.
Ooh, I love Moroccan food.
And here's how this place works. You roll in, you tell them how many people you have, and they're like, okay, well, here's what the meal is. And the meal is just like kind of the same for everything. You have like one or two variants in there, like in the like fourth or fifth, I was going to say wave of food, but that's not what that word is called. Course. There we go.
So this is like a pre-fee, you just kind of show up and that's like...
There's like a price per person and like, okay, like here are the courses, here are like the slight variations. You sit around like a comically small table, a guy comes around and like throws a towel in your lap because there are no utensils and you're just like prying at a very well-cooked chicken with your hands. And that's the best. It was super, super great. The food was amazing. This place was like down an alley, and like very poorly marked, except there was a guy standing outside, like with a vest and a clipboard. And like if you approached him, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, this is totally the place. Come on in." But
I feel like if you walk down an alley and there's just a dude,
I mean, there was a sign.
Right, yeah. But if you walk down an alley and there's a dude and he's like, yes, this is the place that you're looking for, like, you're pretty much guaranteed an excellent meal.
Yeah, and the food was, like, super great. At one point, though, I got up to use the restroom, and by the time I was coming back, this place it's like 3 floors, but each floor is just sort of like a long, narrow room with tables on either side. And when I came back, I heard some music start while I was in the restroom. When I opened the door, I realized 2 things very quickly. 1, that the music was playing because there was a belly dancer in the room now. And 2, the belly dancer was in between me and my table.
Ooh.
And it's a very narrow room. And so I just had to kind of wait it out. Which, I mean, listen, hey, it was like I said, the food was delicious. This was a sort of cool part of that experience. but just sort of like waiting and like trying not to like make eye contact, because I feel like that would have made the whole thing a lot weirder.
Yeah, no, you can't. There are some professions you just can't make eye contact with the person while they're doing.
And maybe
I feel like
maybe
that's
this
one of
isn't
them.
one of them, but I don't have the cultural like background to know whether or not. So I just like eventually, like she went on for a while, and eventually like moved to the other end of the room, and I was able to like sneak past. But there was definitely a moment where I walked out, and I'm like, oh, I have been trapped. I just live here now. This corner is my new home. Maybe I'll go upstairs to one of the other floors and see if there are other people I can sit with for a while. But yeah, it was very cool. The place is called Marrakesh. I definitely recommend it if you're ever in that area. So Dave, what is our fourth star of the week?
So our fourth star of the week, Matt, is we haven't gotten a chance to look in on it yet, but I am a personality lifestyle blogger / commentator now.
Sure.
And I just wanted to share with you the most recent kind of thing that I'm bringing into the Dave World brand. It's a really big get for me. A really big get for me personally. First of all, because I think it's super effective, and B, I think it's something that really meshes with the whole Dave World, brand. It's really on message for me, and by on message, I mean it is some old man nonsense. And the thing that I'm talking about, Matt, is coal tar shampoo.
Well, I have to admit, Dave, normally when I think of coal tar, neither of those words seem like something that would make you clean.
Yeah, well, okay, here's where you would be wrong. So personal admission time, I've got dandruff. That's a thing that's true about me. So I have tried various like products to like deal with that over the years, and like nothing ever worked. Just nothing ever worked for me. And I just had sort of like abandoned all hope. I was just like, well, I guess I'm just a dude who like lives with dandruff, and I'll just like, wash my head every day, and that'll just like deal with it. And I was like, man, I'm just gonna look around. Maybe there's something I've missed somehow. And
certainly possible.
Someone's like coal tar shampoo, and I'm like, well, that sounds appropriately old man for me to like be into it. And like, man, I don't know if I've bought into this story about this like personal narrative hard enough that it's like generating some sort of like psychic feedback loop.
Okay.
Where like my belief in myself as this sort of person helps these things work for me. But
I think that's what the secret is, Dave.
Yeah, you just gotta believe.
Just put it on your vision board.
Yeah, so I ordered this coal tar shampoo, and I try it, and darn me, if it is not like miraculously effective.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, is it black? Like, what is this substance?
Well, Matt, it's shampoo, and it is made from coal tar. It's not black, but it is definitely like a very, very dark brown. And the smell, well, man, I just want you to imagine coal. Like, imagine a product that is called coal tar.
No, I'm there.
Just imagine that smell, and I feel like you'll have pretty much nailed it.
Okay.
As far as what it smells like. Like once you wash it out, it's not like, like floating or with an aura of that around you all the time. But it's fairly intense. I'm not gonna lie. But it is like, darn if the stuff doesn't work, man.
All right, dude.
So that's the latest edition. Get yourself some coal tar shampoo. If you are actually going, I just realized somebody actually might be listening to this, and against all odds, might actually be taking my advice on this thing. Which, let me be clear, it's good advice. The brand I'm using is called DHS. I don't know if that stands for anything. I imagine it does. But DHS coal tar shampoo gets the Dave World seal of approval.
Okay.
So, what, Matt, is our fifth and final star of the week.
Dave, fifth and final star of the week is, as I have continually been mentioning, I just got home. And when I walked in the door, I had a very strange experience. Because for two reasons. One is, I think I've mentioned in previous weeks, I'm living that Jetsons life. So my lamps all turn on when I'm walking up the steps because my phone knows that I'm home.
Amazing.
But when I opened the door and looked into my apartment, I had momentarily forgotten that right before I went out of town for the weekend, I had just gotten a new love seat and kind of rearranged not really rearranged, but did a light rearrangement of my sort of main living space. And so I walked into my apartment after having been gone for a few days, and I see like not a bright orange, but a solidly orange couch where there did not used to be one. And I just had this moment of like, you know how in TV show, like home improvement TV shows, sometimes we're like, oh, like the Pimp My Ride of houses, I guess. Like, they'll get somebody to leave the house and then, like, sneak in and make changes. I definitely did have a moment where I had forgotten that I had kind of done that to myself.
You had just been attacked by, like, very conscientious reverse burglars.
Yeah, like, they broke in. They didn't even get rid of my old love seat. They just sort of moved it into the other room. It was very good of them.
Yeah,
By the way,
that seems like a nice thing.
New love seat looks great. Old love seat also looks great in the new spot. No, it's good. It's a little smaller than my old one, a little less comfortable. But my old love seat was just like, it's unbelievably comfortable, but it is also like at least 25 years old and 100% like busted in. Like, it's great to sit on, like, but not fun to look at.
In a good way, right?
But that's so I have a new love seat and my place looks cool, and I was surprised to remember that I had done that.
Man, this is like the weirdest. I think people talk about like how do you adult? Like how do you do that? It's like, man, so if you're asking yourself that question, it's a slow process and you get there. And part of it is just looking around at yourself and saying, like, you know what? Maybe I should buy a new love seat.
Yeah, maybe.
And then you buy the new love seat and your house looks nice.
Yeah, like the one that you've had for 10 years that had previously been in your parents' house for an additional 15 years. Sometimes that's just not the thing you should keep using. Or rather, you should definitely keep using it, but not in the front room.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, that thing is great, but it's like a basement or like a back room now. So anyways, congratulations, Matt, on successfully tricking yourself. I feel like you've pulled the furniture equivalent of like hiding $10 in your pocket, like your winter coat pocket.
Dave, it is exactly that thing. Or like setting your clocks like 15 minutes fast so you're never late for work. It's like that, but with furniture. It's very good.
All other great pieces of advice. You can have those ones for free, guys.
All right, so here's another great thing, Dave. We're going to take a break. We are going to go watch episode 11, Submission, the Refrigerator of Love. And we will be right back. Okay, welcome back. So we have just finished watching episode 11 of Chouriki Sentai Ohranger. And Dave, if this whole show is as weird and goofy and full of nonsense as these last few episodes have been, then I might actually shed a tear when the series is over.
Okay, Matt, we might be all right, because everything I read said that it was up to episode 8 that things were like real intense, and then it was after episode 8 that they said, ooh, maybe we should like bring it back a notch, and this is episode 11. So
yeah, and like, listen, I can understand if
you might be in cheddar, buddy.
Like, I can understand if you were watching this show when it came out, being disappointed that the first 8 episodes were like crazy, raw, like Jetman style, very brutal, emotional things. But for the purposes of this show, like this show right now,
this one right here,
this is very good.
Yeah, this is pure gold, you guys. It's real, really, really good.
Okay, so we start off this episode, and a woman is dealing with her freezer and refrigerator, and Dave, it's broken. It's like Matt Hardy, Dave. It's gotten itself broken. and she is trying to deal with it, but she does not have any patience for this machine.
She can't. She doesn't understand what's going on. Real quickly, I do want to say, this refrigerator has like 4 doors.
Oh, this is a Cadillac of refrigerators.
And I really don't, I just don't know what other segments you would need.
Maybe,
but anyways.
I mean, maybe it's all on a spectrum. Maybe like it starts as a refrigerator and it gets to a freezer and there are like middle chunks in between where like you want your drink to get very cold, but you don't want the can of Coca-Cola to explode. You put it in segment 2 or 3 and then you're good.
You know, man, I was looking to make a joke out of that, but that's actually a really good idea. I hope that that's the case. And now I'm irritated that I have to make do with a paltry 2 segments in my refrigerator.
So, Dave, would you say that if you had this kind of refrigerator, you would more than just like it, you might, in fact, love it?
Well, okay, now, Matt, had you asked me that before I watched this episode, I would have said yes. But in the context of this episode, I don't think I'm comfortable saying that. Okay, guys, let's just get into the episode, because none of this is going to make any sense. You just got to... Okay, here's what's happening.
Okay, she's furious with this refrigerator because she thinks it's broken.
Her kid, who we find out whose name is Satoshi, he walks up and he's like, Mom, it's not... you can see in his face that this isn't the first time this has happened. He says, it's not broken, it's unplugged, Mom. He plugs it back in. And the mom, rather than being like, I feel so silly that the sentient, moving human being in this situation, did not realize that was the case, gets mad at the refrigerator.
Sure.
Because she says,
of course,
this is why I hate machines, because they're always making fools of me.
Dave, now let me ask you a question. I'm 33 years old. You're what, 35?
35, yeah.
Have you ever... in all your life, experienced a moment where your refrigerator was accidentally unplugged?
No,
okay.
That has literally never happened.
I'm just checking, because that's never happened to me, it's never happened to you, and it's never come up in conversation, and I've talked to a lot of people. So at this point of the episode, I thought that this was an evil refrigerator whose entire purpose was to make a fool of this woman.
Right, I also assumed that was the case. It's not. It's not the case. It's so much better than that. So we go to the moon, and we see the Baranoia royal family, and Empress Hysteria is furious because she is watching this happen on their, telescreen.
Now,
I don't know how they decide what to watch on this telescreen.
This is in my notes as well.
This is an extraordinarily specific event.
Why did she choose this family to just...
Here's what I've got, Matt. Roll with me here.
Okay.
Because the mom is actively hitting the refrigerator because it's made a fool of her.
Of course.
And she's furious. So maybe they just have an RSS feed, alert for any time a human is angry with a machine.
Well, okay.
And they can somehow zero in on that.
Now this does make sense because they are the emperors of the machines. And so even though this is not a sentient machine, there is still some sort of signal that is able to send out to the machine empire to let people know, hey, we're being abused down here. Please come to our aid. Which, if that's true, makes not only this episode, but the rest of this season very uncomfortable.
Yeah, this whole thing becomes really morally questionable. Because what Hysteria says, she says, this is why I hate humans. They love the convenience of machines, but they have no respect for those machines. Which, first of all, I do want to say, that's not entirely true. Empress Hysteria. There's a lot of people that really like machines.
That is true. That is true. But it's not, listen, we have at least one example in this episode so far to show that it's not entirely false.
Yeah.
So some machines, like Rodney Dangerfield, get no respect.
So, you know, man, growing up, I never thought Rodney Dangerfield was funny. I saw some of his movies, and I was like, I don't understand why this dude is famous.
Me too.
He is not funny. I went back and I rewatched a couple blurbs of him a little while ago, and I still do not get it. Rodney Dangerfield is not funny.
Maybe it must have been a cultural thing in the moment. My understanding is that people of a certain age who get comedy really appreciate him, but I am either not of that age or do not get comedy in the way that I always thought I did.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so anyways, this refrigerator gets no respect. Empress Hysteria is like, we will punish these humans. They will appreciate their machines. So they summon, and again, up until like right this instant, I genuinely was assuming that we were getting a refrigerator monster. What we get instead is Bara Printer.
Yes.
Who does not look like a printer.
Okay, I've got a theory about this, Dave.
Yeah, hit me.
Because, okay, well, let's go into saying what he does, and let me circle around on my printer. Because what this guy does is he shows up, he or she, it's a robot monster. It is effectively genderless. I shouldn't assume one or the other. But Bara Printer shows up.
I think you should assume neither. It's a robot.
And zaps the lady and says, hey, you will now love this refrigerator. And when he says love, he means a deep, passionate, romantic love.
Yeah. Love in an uncomfortable way.
Not
for her necessarily.
Sure.
For me.
You will lust after this refrigerator is effectively what he is.
That I think is the best way to say it.
His robot brain is commanding her to lust after a refrigerator.
Yeah.
That's not a sentence I ever thought I was going to say, but here we are, Dave.
Man, okay, listen, dude. I've said a lot of sentences, first of all, as a part of this show, but also as a part of Raising the Twin. I've said sentences that I never thought I would say.
Do you have any examples handy?
Yeah, okay, well, here's the first one. It's the biggest one, because the twins, there's a boy and a girl, all right? Mm-hmm. And they're babies, and they get their diapers changed. And, like, you can't, if it's just you can change one diaper and then the other one's running around. Uh-huh. So number one on list of sentences that I never thought I would say was, Bean, do not grab your brother's penis. Like, that's not a sentence that you think. Like, you don't think you would need to have to tell someone not to touch their brother's penis, but
Dave, I'll let you know that's pretty high on the list of things I was not expecting to hear this episode.
Yeah, well, there you go. You're welcome. You're welcome for that one.
So, okay, do you have any more, or should we circle back around to Ohranger?
No, we can get back to Ohranger. So here...
You can loop those back in on a further baby watch. But my theory on Bara Printer, by the way, is that it is a false cognate. And in fact, what the Bara Printer is that he is imprinting people on things.
Yeah, no, I think that's gotta be it.
Yeah.
What Bara Printer looks like is Shockwave, like a more rounded Shockwave, but with no head.
Yeah, from the Transformers.
Oh, yeah. Sorry if that wasn't clear.
I'm sorry, Dave.
You're just stuck on don't touch your brother's penis?
Yeah, no, I'm still trying to circle back around. My next note says that Shohei almost kills a kid. Is that what happens next?
Yeah. Shohei almost kills a kid. And, well, he's on his motorcycle, and he really got you with that one, didn't I?
You did.
So he's on his motorcycle, and basically the kid runs up to his mom, Satoshi, and he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, get away, don't touch the refrigerator with your filthy hands. And she slaps him, and he runs out of the house. And then Shohei is like on his motorcycle, and he brakes really hard. He almost hits the kid. And the kid Satoshi just immediately trusts Shohei and is like, there's something wrong with my mom. She's just admiring the fridge. And Shohei's like, yeah, that is weird. And then we see Bara Printer working his nefarious work all over town.
Yeah, now there is a moment in here where Shohei, after hearing this kid saying some weird thing about his mom, wanders into the house and watches her, like, go nuts on this refrigerator. And he gets from this the vibe that, like, this is definitely a paranoia thing. And he's like, oh.
He's like, this is.
Like, I thought this sounded weird when you said your mother was in love with a refrigerator. Okay, I'm on the case.
Yeah. So we see Bara Printer, and he makes a schoolgirl fall in love with a copier. And she says, "Copier, like, let me kiss you." And then we get just like mushed up copy photos of her face, which is actually pretty
it is a
funny
very
gag.
good physical gag. They cut to a couple of like motorcycle street toughs, and Barra Printer causes them to fall in love with tricycles. Which is sort of a loose definition of machine, but it's cool. They run over to two children who are riding on tricycles. They lift those children off the tricycles, and then these two like mid-20s motorcycle toughs are just rolling around on these children's tricycles. It's beautiful.
So we go from there to a church, and I am fairly certain it is the church that Chouriki was going to get married in to her like childhood betrothed.
Well, Dave, listen, if there's one thing that the Super Sentai series has taught me, is that there is only one Cory, only one dock, and only one church in all of Tokyo.
Yeah, so so the bride is running away from Barakapier, and Barakapier, I love like that there's no rhyme or reason to what he wants people to love, because he says, "You love an electric fan," and she is like cowering before Barra Printer. But before he can get his attack off, Shohei does like a flying punch and like knocks Barra Printer over, and he does not attack this poor bride, and she manages to kind of get away.
The rest of the Ohrangers all show up, and also Barra Printer summons a bunch of Barra soldiers, and so there is a Ohrangers versus Barra soldiers fight. And in every instance in this episode, when all 5 of the Ohrangers, whether or not they are transformed or henshined, are fighting the Barra soldiers, the fight scenes in this episode are great. I don't know if it's just because we haven't seen an episode in a few weeks, but every time they show a scene of this, just the way that it is shot and the way the choreography is set up is really wonderful.
Yeah, they do a super, super fantastic job. There is one spot where we get the same 2 or 3 seconds of fight shot just literally, I think, shot from 2 different angles. And I think they're presented to us in a way that's like, this is 2 different fights that are like, this is just more of the fight as opposed to like, it's the same fight from a different angle. Like, it's definitely, because there's like another little bit in between. And I was watching and I was like, did you just film that same fight from 2 angles and try to tell me it was 2 different chunks?
It very well might have been. The other,
no, I mean, it's a really, really good idea. Like, I'm not going to talk too much shade on it.
Sure.
But
the other notable thing about this fight is that Juri, the yellow Ohranger, is wearing pigtails in this episode.
She is. And the best thing about that is that she is wearing pigtails and she is delivering hammer blows.
Oh,
she
the
is
most devastating of attacks.
She is dropping bombs on Barra soldiers. And it's really great because Yuji, for most of this fight, you see him, and he is just doing flips. Not even Akko style, like flips around someone. You just see him literally doing flips like 10 feet away from any Barra soldiers. And Yuji is in there. Juri is in there with like pigtails, just crushing nerds. It's amazing.
So the Barra Printer then turns on all of the Ohrangers, like, okay, I'm gonna make y'all love electric fans. But since Shohei's been paying attention, he says, oh no, everybody close your eyes. This is how he does it. If you see him zap this laser at you, that is how it affects you. So they all close their eyes. They avoid getting cursed to love an electric fan. But in this moment, since all of their eyes are closed, Barra Printer is able to shoot like just a explosion laser at them, and he runs away.
Yeah. So this fight is over, and they're like, well, what are we gonna do? We can't actually we can't fight this guy because we can't look at him. Like, we're in trouble.
Yeah, and they also realize there's a secondary problem, which is that if this dude is able to make people fall in love with a fan or a refrigerator or a tricycle, then
it's not going to stop there. Yeah,
right. There are a lot more machines that people can fall in love with.
Like, for example,
well, okay, so we cut up to the throne room, and they also have this sort of vague conversation where they're saying, "Oh yes, well, Barra Printer can make people love machines, so Barra Printer can make people love the ultimate machine.
And it slow pans over to Emperor Bacchus Wrath.
Okay.
There's a great moment that happens. Hold up. There's an amazing moment that happens right before this where Prince Bulldome is like, oh yeah, this is amazing. Like, how incredible. And History is like, shut up. Only an idiot would be excited about this. And you see Bulldome, and like, he doesn't have a super expressive face because he's like a weird puppet, but you can tell that one hurt.
Genuinely, until later in the episode, when they are talking about making people fall in love with the ultimate robot, I thought they were talking about Ohranger Robo. Like, if we can get people to fall in love with Ohranger Robo, then they will, like, cluster around it, and the Ohrangers won't be able to use it to destroy our giant monsters. I don't know why I thought that's where the episode was going, but I really did, and I kind of wish that would have been the case, because it would have been a beautiful visual.
That would have been a pretty amazing thing. But, I mean, Matt, they very clearly, like, they're like, the ultimate machine, and then the camera just lingers on Emperor Bacchus Wrath for like a solid 10 seconds, dude.
Listen, Dave, this is a short episode with a lot happening, and I had to take all of my notes longhand. So we cut away, and Shohei. So all of the Ohrangers are following around Acha, right? Because Acha is down on the ground, sort of like dealing with the moment-to-moment logistics of Barra Printer.
Yeah.
And so Shohei, he's like, oh, I've got a plan. And he jumps out and he does like this, what you think ought to be a devastating jump kick onto Acha. Because Acha is just like, I mean, he's a robot, but he's a robot butler.
Yeah.
But Shohei attacks him and just sort of bounces off. And it's like, oh no, you're so strong. You're so strong and cool. You're the best robot. This is the worst thing that could ever happen, that you, the best, strongest, coolest robot, are on Earth.
And I'm just like, what?
And Shohei's like,
says,
oh man.
That's why everyone calls you the greatest machine ever.
Oh yes. If everyone were to fall in love with you, boy, that would be a problem.
And I'm just like, I am. Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that tracks.
I am. That's pretty good. I am the greatest machine ever. And he turns to Barra Printer and he says, okay, so the new plan, come with me.
There is the briefest of moments where the camera passes over Shohei's face as he's like lying on the ground pretending to have been completely devastated by the toughness and coolness of Acha. And Shohei, he doesn't actually look at the camera and wink, but he definitely does wink.
Yes, he's hamming it pretty hard. And so the next thing we see is, there's a quick photo shoot with Acha, and Barra Printer is taking pictures of him, and he's posing, and the pose that Acha eventually picks is the Riverdance pose, and I think you know the one I'm talking about.
Yes.
And then we get a quick shot of just, it's the mom loving the fridge again, and then it's just uncomfortable.
She has a flower put on it now.
Yeah. And then so Barra Printer shows up and he says, okay, stop loving the refrigerator. Now love Acha! And she imprints on Acha now. So the next thing we see is Acha is being carried on a crowd of people's shoulders.
And it's all the people from earlier in the episode. It's the girl who is in love with the Xerox machine. It's the guys who are in love with the tricycles. It's all them.
Plus a number of other people. And so this is weird to me. It seems like the royal family would be watching this, and we know that they can like teleport stuff and interfere. Acha is definitely like screwing with the plan, and I'm not quite sure why they're just letting this ride.
The people who are in love with Acha are definitely getting like lays and putting them around his neck to celebrate the beauty that is Acha. And listen, I don't want to Acha shame anybody, but like it is very funny.
So the Rangers are just sort of surveilling this. And Joey is like, yeah, this is incredible. Like, guys, I crushed it. Like, I did it. I've saved the day.
This could have easily been Bacchus Wrath. I alone have saved Earth with my wisdom.
And there's a quick scene where Goro is imagining is like, oh man, if this was Baka's Wrath, it'd be really bad. And we see a bunch of people bowing down to Baka's Wrath, and then chaos. There's a mom with a rocket launcher and kids with dynamite. Which
kids with dynamite are amazing because you don't actually see that it's dynamite they have. It just kind of looks like they're throwing rocks at a building and then that building explodes.
Oh, man, I think you must have looked away because they do 100% have a like cartoon style, like taped together bundle of like red dynamite.
Oh yeah, I must have missed that while I was writing the note on my notebook that says destructive dream kids.
So Satoshi kind of runs into the crowd, and he is trying to get his mother to pay attention to him. This is actually kind of it's like the only moment I was like, oh, geez, man.
Yeah.
And the mom is like, no, get away from me. And she like pushes him away. And you see Shohei, and he goes from looking very pleased to himself to realizing that he has not actually defeated the monster.
Right. And so he turns to the other Ohrangers and is like, well, I mean, obviously, this was just my plan to buy time for a little bit while we actually formulated a plan. So don't worry about this. Now it is time to actually defeat the monster.
No, Shohei, phase 2. So he just runs out. He doesn't say, like, he explains nothing. He just runs. And he's like, hey, nerd, and Barra Printer chases him with laser blasts.
Yeah, and he chases them into the one dock that exists that is covered in, like, small shipping containers and so forth. And Shohei is running back and forth between them all. And you have to know in this moment that Shohei is desperately trying to think of what phase 2 of his plan is.
Okay, yeah, and I think I want to give him a little bit more credit than that, because the where this ends up has to have been planned.
I mean, hopefully.
Well, otherwise, man, I just can't. Okay, so you know what? I can accept it. Why not? But it would make a lot more sense if he had planned it, because here's what happens. He basically runs a maze through this dock, and Barra Printer is chasing him, and there's a dead end. And it's like, oh no, Shohei is trapped. And Barra Printer prepares his laser blast. And he's like, you're going to love Acha. And right as he is about to shoot the laser blast, Shohei ducks and pulls away a big cloth that was behind him, behind which is a gigantic mirror.
Uh-huh. You know, like are often on the outside of shipping containers.
Yeah, so I would prefer to exist in a world where this was planned, rather than, like, Shohei ran up to a covered object in a dead end and just, like, randomly pulled the cloth off as he was dodging it. It happened to be a mirror, and that worked.
I mean, that's a beautiful thought to have, Dave. I want to encourage that.
So, turns out that Barra Printer made a really serious error in character creation, is that he did not buy immunity to the damage type that he uses.
Yeah, and so now Barra Printer is 100% infatuated with Acha.
So he just starts chasing Acha around. He eventually catches him in an embrace that I'm only going to call non-consensual. That's as far as I'm going to go with that.
Yeah.
And he does yell like,
not.
I love you, but in English, which makes it weirder somehow.
Yeah, so Acha is trapped, but Kocha, thankfully, is off to the side because he's been following this whole thing, and he is able to, like, laser zap the love at first sight circuit that Barra Printer has been using
I cannot express in words, Matt, how much I love that is a dedicated piece of circuitry that exists for Barra Printer.
It's very special.
So he does, and then Barra Printer is cool. But now everybody's free. It doesn't work anymore.
Sure, and not only is everybody free, but also the Ohrangers are now able to fight Barra Printer because there's no danger that they will be zapped with the love at first sight circuit to be made to love a boat? I don't know. That's a thing that they could love.
So from here it's a fight. It's a fairly straightforward fight. We get it. We get a pre-henshin fight and then they henshin, and there's a little bit more fight after this.
There is, by the way, there is one bit in here that they go full Birdman because the entire fight is following one camera shot that goes from like one person fighting to the other person fighting to the other person fighting. It is very impressive and wonderful, and I kind of want to watch it again right now, and maybe will after we're done with this. Because like I said, in all of the weird Bara soldier fights in this episode, it's not just like a quick like 1-2 punch and kick deal. It's really well orchestrated.
Yeah, the fight choreography for, I was about to say Birdman. The fight choreography for Ohranger is pretty rad. They really, like, I don't know, like maybe just the stunt people are better, but they're doing a really, really good job.
Yeah.
So the interesting part of this fight though is that Shohei is soloing Bara Printer for a while, and he drops a new technique, which is totally cool. Technique. It's called Mirage Knuckles. Is this like, do Green Rangers just have illusion powers kind of all the time? Is that a thing, Matt? Do you know?
I don't know. I think it might be one of those things that he is punching him so quickly that it looks like he has a million fists and it's not actually like a real illusion. Well, anyways,
the effect that they do is pretty neat. It does look like he's punching him really fast with a million fists. It's cool. And then he also does another new attack, which is Chouriki Crusher. So he like holds out his two axes and they are covered in lightning, and then he cracks Bara Printer in the dome with lightning axes.
It's very good.
Pretty cool. So they summon the Chouriki mobiles, and they use Giant Roller.
Yeah, this is before the Chouriki mobiles join into Ohranger Robo. If you remember, it's been a few weeks. Giant Roller is like
It's a big tire.
It's a big tire that's in a machine that makes the giant tire shoot at a dude, but Goro has to stand inside the giant tire to make it like a full Chouriki attack. It's pretty excellent.
Yeah. So they do that, and then like from there, it's a fairly standard fight.
Yeah.
They do Chouriki roller, they do Giant Roller, and then he goes giant.
Now,
with Kacha and Ocha being giant,
I was going to say,
turning things giant.
It's only been a few episodes, so I don't want to really gloss over it too quickly yet, because I want to make sure that everyone remembers.
You must not forget this, guys.
That the way that the monsters grow in these episodes is that Acha throws Kocha at the monster. Kocha, injects them in the neck with a robot syringe, and the weird robot serum in that syringe makes them become giant robots.
Yes.
It's just important to me that no one forgets this moment.
So they form to the Chouriki Robo, and the first thing they do is horn head change. So we get the Taurus head, and he gets a couple of headbutts in, and then he does a lightning headbutt, which is cool. And then they switch out for Wing Head, which is like the standard one where they use Crown Sword, and then Crown Sword ends Bara Printer, and then that's it.
Yeah. So the giant monster has been defeated. We cut to later. The child. What was the child's name again, Dave?
Satoshi. So Satoshi is with his mom.
The mom is getting something out of the refrigerator, and she is now able to engage the refrigerator in a normal way.
Yes. In a healthy way. In a way that's normal, for her.
Yeah. Satoshi is now demanding that his mother make for him Salisbury steaks.
Which, that's legit. Salisbury steak is delicious. I even love those cheap, real Salisbury steak is delicious, but I will absolutely gruffle those cheap Salisbury steaks at the Swanson's ones.
Man, I have not eaten a Swanson Salisbury steak in these many years.
Okay, I actually had one semi-recently, Matt, and let me tell you something. It's not as good as you remember.
Okay, did you put the green beans in? You got to put them green beans in.
I didn't, because I didn't make it. But it's not as good as you remember, but it's certainly still pretty tasty. I think it's one of those things you have to have eaten it growing up, because Beth took a bite and she was like, "This is disgusting and I can't believe you're eating it." And I'm like, I love these guys. I ate 3 of them. So there is something I do need to point out. So first we see Shohei creeping. He's he doesn't come to the house and say Satoshi, everything is cool. He's just peering in the window from across the street.
Okay.
Which is a weird moment. The next thing is we pan outside, and it's like a different house. This is not the house they showed us before where Mom and Satoshi lived.
I mean, okay, maybe they're very wealthy and they have two houses. Maybe the house was destroyed in the...
Two houses with literally the exact same interior. Sure, that could be the case.
Hey, you know what you like. Why would you decorate things differently? You want things on other parts of town, sure. But that doesn't mean that you necessarily want to buy, redesign the decoration 2 times.
That's an irritatingly good point, because if the house I live in was destroyed, I would probably just try and rebuild it.
And also, maybe their house actually was destroyed because there were giant robot attacks. And they just have very good insurance and were able to get into a new house pretty quickly.
So Sohei, Juri, why do I keep doing that? So Juri is like, wow, Sohei, you really did a fantastic job, and you really saved everyone's bacon. And Joey's like, yes, I did. And then she says,
good for Shohei.
Good for Shohei. And she says,
this is Shohei saying this, by the way. Shohei is very proud of himself.
Juri says, is what I would say, but I can't, because your plan was terrible.
Yeah, your plan was effective. And this is what I love about this episode, is because I feel like, Dave, you and I often have this conversation at the end of an episode, which is that the hero's plan does work, but there's no reason that it should have, because it's a terrible plan. And
right,
I
because
really
it's an
love
insane bananas plan that never in a million years would actually work.
Right, and Juri is like, yeah, I'm glad that we're not fighting that guy anymore, and that your stupid backwards bananas plan did work, but you're kind of an idiot, and there's no way this should have actually happened.
So he's like, yeah, well, though...
No, yeah, Shohei is not really willing to give up on his moment of glory.
Right, he's like, yeah, but it did work, though, and, all's well that ends well, and Shohei is still the champ. Awesome.
2 thumbs up, double plus Shohei.
So that's, so that's it, man.
Yeah, so that is the end of that episode, Dave, but it is not the end of our episode.
Yeah. So the question is, where does Bara Printer fit on the Creature Royale?
Okay.
Now, what do you think?
Well, I'm a little torn, Dave, because Bara Printer, he facilitated some fun things happening in this episode, but he himself as a robot, if you were going to put him up against other monsters, was not, super effective, even though he was tons of fun. So where do you think is a good spot on the list to start looking for a dude who, gave us a really good episode because he had a really good hook, but he himself was not really doing a lot?
You know what I'm thinking, Matt?
Where are you thinking, Dave?
I'm down in, Mujina the manga artist territory.
Oh, I think that's a pretty good equivalent.
I think, because it's he's the vector for a weird, crazy plan that's actually pretty unique and fun, but he himself is not actually a giant part of it. He's just kind of he's the prime mover on it, but he's not very interesting in and of himself.
Okay, now Mujina the manga artist is on number 85 in our list.
Yeah.
So do you think that Bara Printer goes above or below him?
I would go down. I'd go down from there.
Well, because, right above him is...
Nupafuhofu, the face licker.
Oh, the guy who licks people's faces off, yes.
Yeah, that guy rules. And then Itan Momen, the rag strangler. So, I'm thinking down. Directly underneath that is Majin Robo Veronica and Semimaru.
Okay. Oh, I'm sure that's why those people are on this list here. Because they gave us good episodes.
That's all the same.
Yeah, but they themselves are kind of... not a lot going on. Now,
right,
below those two is Fawcett Dimension. Do you think that Bara Printer goes above or below Fawcett Dimension?
Ooh, that's really tough. Yeah, because Fawcett Dimension is the first dimensional beast.
Yeah, and also, like, man, those faucets, remember in the early bits of that episode where he's able to control all faucets? And they're just, like, coming out of the walls and also coming out of the ground and wrapping up motorcycles?
So I'm thinking one down from there is Leech Drill, who I hate. So I'd say just under Faucet Dimension is where I put Bar Printer.
Okay, so Bar Printer is our new number 89 on the list.
Yeah.
And just for reference, the list is...
It
It's
is
at
now
117 things long.
crazy. 117 monsters on this list so far, Matt. So that is actually going to do it for our episode, Matt.
Yes, Dave, that is going to do it for another episode of For Your Eyes, Ohranger. Now, before we finish up here, I'd like to remind you all that you can email the show at supersentaibrothers@gmail.com. If you want to get any updates on future episodes or check out the things that we're talking about on Twitter, we are at Super Sentai Bros. If you like the show, please remember that shining in the iTunes review section, there are 5 stars. Please rate, review, subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever it is that you get this. That's what's going to help new people find the show, or just tell a friend. You know, friends. You got them, I'm sure.
I'm sure. You're all great people. Why would you not?
There's literally no reason. Go get a new friend. I'll tell you what, go get a new friend and tell them about it, and maybe they'll already know about it. And then you can be even closer friends.
You can use the show to make a new friend.
These are all our friend strategies. The Super Sentai Brothers are a production of Retrograde Orbit Radio. To catch any of the other great Retrograde Orbit Radio shows, you can find them all at retrogradeorbitradio.com. Once again, we are the Super Sentai Brothers. I'm Matt.
I'm Dave.
And we'll see you next week for the greatest show on Earth.